Her Excellency, Indian High Commissioner to Fiji, Srimati Padmajaji. I saw my good friend, senior BJP leader Vijay Joly. I think he's coming in, so I welcome him as well. And all of you, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank Dr. Ganesh Chand for inviting me to speak on the subject of Girmitiya political parties, because invariably academics and politicians have some kind of mutual suspicion of each other. Sometimes they feel that inviting a politician, especially right now in the context of this country, if you invite an opposition politician, you might be accused of politicizing the occasion. But being an academic myself, I think I can do both. Normally, academics feel that politicians will distort something that they say. And politicians always fear academics because they feel that academics might be critical of their political stance. So good politics is not necessarily good policy, and sometimes good policy may not necessarily be good politics. With the time constraint in mind, I want to begin by saying that I'm here today as the leader of Fiji's oldest political party, and indeed the oldest political party in the South Pacific. And the National Federation Party was born out of the struggle for justice, dignity, and respect for all Fiji citizens, not only just Indo-Fijians, although it began with an Indo-Fijian leader who came to Fiji from India 36 years before the defining moment when the party was formed in 1963. And I know that today, as I delve deeper into the topic, I could be seen by many in this country as treading on others' toes, simply because of their definition of fundamental freedoms, human and political rights. The National Federation Party was formed by Ambalal Deyabhai Patel, famously known as A.D. Patel. And he was arguably one of the finest orators in Fiji's political history. And I want to just quote a tribute on him. And it goes like this: "Of all people who appeared before me, A.D. Patel was outstanding, intellectually the most brilliant, as a character the most honorable, and as an advocate the most persuasive. Quick in mind, fluent in speech, he stood out above all. He even outshone Mr. Brennan, who later became Chief Justice of Australia. It was his persuasive advocacy that led me to my report, which, as in favor of the growers and against the millers." This was said by Lord Denning, an eminent judge who presided over the inquiry within the sugar industry, and in particular about the proceeds of sale of sugar and how it was going to be shared between the CSR and the growers. So A.D. Patel was not from Fiji. He was born in the estate of Gujarat, and in fact he was persuaded by Henry Pollack, a close associate of Mahatma Gandhi, to actually come to Fiji and look at the situation here. And he did advocate, throughout his political career until he died just before the independence of Fiji in 1970, many issues, and has left legacies which we still cherish today. He was a member of what they called at that time social services in the Legislative Council and indeed the cabinet or the government at that time. And he pushed for social advancement of not only just Indo-Fijians or Indians at that time, as they were called, but also for everyone in this country. He pushed for things like establishment of the social pension scheme, the FNPF, which we still have today, housing authority for providing housing to low-income people. He talked about post-secondary education, and which led to the establishment of the Regional University of the South Pacific, Denning Award on behalf of the growers, forcing the exit of CSR, which he saw as a very exploitative organization. And of course, the renovation of chiefly island of Bau. A.D. Patel at that time was advocating the re-establishment, the renovation, and the improvement of Bau Island, which was the chiefly island, in recognition of the chiefs of Fiji. And independence, finally, whose final negotiation was done by Patel's successor, S.M. Koya, who was instrumental later on as the leader of the National Federation Party and as the leader of the opposition to negotiate public holidays for Prophet Muhammad's birthday as well as for Diwali. And we heard today from Shireen, about the struggles of Hindus in Trinidad. And many years later on, they were able to establish some of those things. So this was part of the political contribution of the leader, the post-independence leader of the National Federation Party, S.M. Koya. Of course, we had the 87 coup, and again, it presented very difficult challenges for the National Federation Party, which was the opposition party, which was in government, which was in government with another party, the Fiji Labour Party, which I will say a little bit later, which was only in government for a month and was removed at gunpoint by the military in 1987. So the event itself had huge challenge for the Indian leadership. And at that time, in 87, before the election in 87, the second political party, which was led by the descendants of the Girmitia, was the Fiji Labour Party. It was led by an indigenous Fijian initially, and after his demise, Mahendra Chaudhry became the leader of the Labour Party. So if we look at the future of the Indo-Fijians at that time, there were serious questions about the future of Indo-Fijians after the coup. There was a constitution imposed which was racist, which was feudalistic, and the election on that constitution was held in 1992, and the National Federation Party and the Fiji Labour Party in opposition worked together to change that constitution and bring about the 1997 constitution, which was widely acclaimed as a very, very good constitution, which provided elements of security in terms of the political representation of both the Itoke community, the indigenous Fijian community, and the Indian community. So, Ganesh, I know I don't have much time, but the issue about the future of the Indo-Fijians in this context, this is not, what I'm going to say is not new. I mean, British rulers in many parts of the colonial world, they practiced a very distinct policy called divide and rule to keep multi-ethnic subjects under control. It engaged and used cultural, economic, religious, and any other pretext it could to sow divisions amongst peoples and kept them apart from focusing on the common good. In effect, it also kept individual communal factions from gaining anything either. So racism, ladies and gentlemen, is an old tool that is emerging as a modern political weapon in all parts of the world, and Fiji included. Aside from very obvious, there are many subtle strategies that have been engaged in Fiji to essentially divide and rule, and I must say it's been used by the current government. And I want to highlight a number of them. Calling everyone a Fijian, as Dr. Ganesh Chan said this morning. In fact, he said, it's an imposition that will be resisted by the indigenous Fijians. I'm sure, Ganesh, that will invite a lot of debate. Or dissolving the Great Council of Chiefs were designed more to diminish the value of indigenous cultures rather than to celebrate and support the diversity of cultures. The message sent is that any cultural identity is a threat. We do not believe in that. I do not believe in that. We believe that strong cultural identities help enhance the identity of Fiji. Old traditions of all ethnic groups help root our next generations into the rich cultural soils of Fiji. Promoting one culture in competition to the other generates an impression that success has to be divided and cannot be shared. No. Every indigenous culture in Fiji will succeed only if Fiji prospers. And Fiji will prosper if all peoples of Fiji, of every ethnic background, have the opportunity to succeed. Each coup in Fiji has had a common cultural element to it. It has divided us with fear. This government also has used that fear to create a Fiji for Indo-Fijians and a Fiji for Itoke. Hundreds of thousands of Indians fled Fiji after the coups. Did that help Fiji? No, it helped no one. Did the resistance to the possibility of having an Indo-Fijian Prime Minister turn Fiji into Singapore for the Itoke? No. On the contrary, it slowed to a crawl the progress Fiji was making or could have made. Even in the last elections, the current ruling party used the subtle, hushed references to protection from another coup as a tactic to play on the fears of the Indo-Fijians to get their votes. They have called both SODELPA and NFP racist in order to deflect attention from their actions and strategies, and use race to divide and rule, not to join forces and bring prosperity. The Prime Minister is on record to say that he would not form a coalition with any other party during the 2000 general elections because their policies do not align with them. True, our policies taking all of Fiji forward do not align with the policies of fomenting racial divides for personal gain. In some ways, I think there's been a lot of manipulation by the campaign that we had in the last election, and the fear that was put into the people about a possibility of an Itoke government led by the SODELPA party. And that was one of the most difficult issues. There are many issues that affect the Indo-Fijian community, and they could be leveled as Indo-Fijian issues. There may be Indo-Fijian issues, but they impact the overall strength of Fiji as well. So for example, when the National Federation Party talks about the sugar industry, 30% of the growers are Itokes as well. When one points out the paucity of Indo-Fijian cultural artifacts at the Fiji National Museum, it is not a call to reduce the number of artifacts that the Itoke items. Rather, we're talking about the equality to preserve all that can be preserved for all communities in Fiji to maintain its heritage. And there are a number of examples where we've had difficulty. You know, I've moved a motion, for example, to celebrate, have a national celebration, have a bipartisan national celebration to deal with the Gurmit celebration. It was not accepted. So what we are saying is that the future cannot be, I know I've finished my time, but let me just finish this. The future, I know there are some people in the room, some academics who feel that inviting a politician is probably not the right thing. So please bear with me. I want to say that the future cannot be constructed from a position of fear or exclusion of others. No, the only way forward is to be proud of our heritage, celebrate the work and efforts of our ancestors, and illuminate the path into the future through hard work, camaraderie that brings success and honor to Fiji, and not just Indo-Fijians. Very importantly, I want to also raise, we are the descendants of the Gurmitia, who traveled the high seas to a land of unknown, to live with peoples unknown to them or to us, to succeed in the face of challenges unknown, all without fear. And if some people believe that we can get through politics, we can get through identity, a common identity, an equal citizenry, through fear, then I'm afraid we are laying our foundation for serious discord and disharmony in not only in this country, but in any other country where politicians or anyone who tries to deal with the issues of what we call unequal citizenry by using fear, by threatening groups that if they vote this way or that way, then their lot or their position in a particular country is going to be threatened. That has never worked in any country, and it is not going to work in Fiji. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.